Okay, good morning. Welcome to Ag Talking Raw, where we talk raw about agriculture and other things. I got this book, yes, The American Agriculturalist, and I was browsing through it. I read these things from time to time. Not as much as I would like to, but there was a couple of articles in here that I felt to be noteworthy, and I don't know. I just thought I'd talk about them. When I got to the end of this book here, and hold on. Okay, so we get down here, and you're just going to love this because they put it all the way in the back. I think. Where the hell is this thing? Maybe just bear with me here. And okay, so there's two articles here, and I only saw the one because it just kind of captured my eye in a major way. It says, "Good news, milk price cycle is near the bottom." Okay, they didn't say it was at the bottom; they said it was near the bottom. Now, being on YouTube and being a farming channel and an ex-dairy farmer, I get a lot of emails, and I do read a lot of comments. I mean, a lot of comments, and they're talking about the dairy prices a lot and how it's just killing the dairy industry. Well, I know it is. It's been killing the dairy industry since the early 80s, the mid to early 80s. I mean, last new equipment that we bought on the farm that was paid for by milk was in the late 80s. And that was because we switched creameries, and there was a bonus for switching, and they did away with the hauling charge for, I'm going to say, about 3 years. There was a 3-year deferred hauling charge. Now, after that 3 years was up, the hauling charge went, it was applied. But we were already able to save enough money to buy my grandmother a new pickup truck, a 1988 Chevy 2500, and we bought... God, I was 17 years old. We bought the 4020 that was a wreck. We should have never bought that tractor. It had a bad engine in it, and it seemed like a good idea, but the transmission, unbeknownst to us, transmission wasn't in great shape. Synchronizers were bad. Cost us a lot of money, but we were able to buy the 4020. So we had the 4010, 4020, 4320, and the 4430. Those were the only tractors we had, other than the Farm All M that we retired when the 4020 came to the farm. So after that, it was, we bought some stuff with grain money. 4450 came with grain money. And, it was just a lot of years later. 10 years later, in 88, 98, I started the mulch hay business. And I haven't looked back since. So, but anyways, with the milk prices near the bottom, Class 3 milk for 2018 expected to average $1.35 a hundred below 2017. So $1.35 a hundred below 2017 for 2018. Anybody in the working world, non-ag folk, if they took $1.35 an hour cut in their pay, they would quit that job or immediately start looking for a new one. It's just the cold hard facts of it. So, let's see. Class 4 milk may be 85 cents a hundred lower. The all milk average may be down $1.55 from 2017. Well, that sucks. It just does. Good news may be that milk prices tend to move upward from spring into summer, which could bring some relief. Penn State's dairy analyst Rob Goodlane pointed out in December's Dairy Outlook 2018. The 2018 cost of production on Pennsylvania dairy farms would need to be below $17.50 per hundredweight to cash flow. Even that cost of production won't provide much profit margin at the current forecast 2018 Class 3 prices. Okay, $17.50 per hundred. Well, that's that's nice. In that area where they're talking about, maybe maybe that's the average cost to produce 100 pounds of milk at 17.50 per hundred. That's actually, that's pretty high, I thought. But when we were producing milk, we quit in 2011, so. I think it was costing somewhere around, like close to $13 a hundred to produce milk, and milk price was in that $13 range. It was like we were taking good money, and then we were just cycling money. It never seemed to accumulate. It was going in one hand and out the other, and then here in the middle there was nothing, which really sucked for us. And that was one of the main reasons why we decided to just say, you know what, enough is enough. And it wasn't the production cost so much as it was. Well, it is the production cost. We were growing our own corn, our own soybeans. We were actually roasting soybeans in the dryer. Wasn't doing a great job, but it was too expensive. We didn't have the money to even get the roaster in to roast soybeans. Buying a soybean meal, it was. We did all kinds of stuff to produce milk, and we cut every corner there was to cut to keep production costs down. And eventually, my dad is going to be 70 in April, and we quit in 2011. So what is that? That's 7 years ago. So he was in his early 60s. Early 60s, milking cows, and the profit was getting less and less and less, and I wasn't going to do it. Why should I do something that's dying? I may as well do something that's at least stable. And I like stability in my life, and sometimes parts of my life aren't very stable, but as far as my income, I kind of like a stable income. That's why it upsets me a lot when I don't get paid from the mushroom barn that I take to. Sometimes they'll skip a week, and that's okay. I do have some reserve money, but most of it's in my equipment. And getting reserve money out of your equipment means you got to sell something. I don't really like that. But there's a reason why I spend so much money on equipment, and it has to do with a divorce. So we won't get into that. So here you are. How many dairymen are out there? And I think the dairymen are the forgotten group of people. They're a forgotten corner of agriculture. There's mega dairies like Fair Oak Farm, and many others out in the western side of the United States. There's really not too much here in the East Coast that are that size, But we get up here in New York, and I was talking to someone about a month or maybe it was 2 months ago. Towards the end, well, maybe it was longer than that ago. Towards the end of summer. And they were saying that one pickup a week they were having to dump because they weren't coming to pick it up. They told them, they said, well, we could cut you out, or you can dump a 2 days worth of production down the drain, and we'll continue to pick up your milk. Well, there's a reason for that. When you watch TV, you see Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, Mountain Dew, Dr. Pepper commercials, and let's face it, that soda's cheap. And people want to buy cheap. They don't care if it's good for their kids or not. They just want to buy cheap. So when milk is in competition with sugary sweets and energy drinks, Red Bull is, if Red Bull had a milk product, we'd all be millionaires. But according to those, all the things that Red Bull promotes and sponsors, they don't sponsor dairymen. So look at it that way. That milk production or milk is in competition. A healthy drink is in competition with garbage, and garbage always wins because people like sweet. They like sweet stuff, and they don't mind spending $2.50 for a tiny little can of energy drink that they think is going to make their life so wonderful. What is it? Red Bull grows wings. Yeah, it'll grow wings. Eventually, your joints are going to be rotted out from the phosphoric acid. Brings me to another point that I could make about milk. There was a lot of, back in the 90s when my son Timothy was born, there was a big push to not drink milk for kids. Don't give kids cow's milk because it's bad for them. Well, recent developments, in information that I have is that doctors are actually pushing mothers of unborn children to drink milk because it's healthy for the baby. Well, there you go. So it's come full circle, but I never saw any retraction on, oh my God, cow's milk is bad for mothers and babies. It's gonna cause what the hell? I think they even claimed it was causing autism. It was ridiculous. Still coughing over that lady on the airplane. So, yeah, what do you do with milk prices? You know, if you're in the dairy business and you love your cows. I mean, I don't know any dairymen that don't love their cows. Yeah, I mean, I didn't love our cows at the time that I had them. I do miss them, and I blamed the wrong thing. I mean, I should have blamed the federal government, the Milk Marketing Administration, for setting the price, the minimum price that the creamery has to pay for milk, because if the federal government or the Milk Marketing Administration says, hey, you know what? There's too much milk on the market, so we're just going to cut the farmer's throat and get them to cut production. And, you know, that's, you know, it's supply and demand, obviously, but there's just better ways of doing it. There's just better ways of doing it. You know, I don't know. Quotas? You know, Europe had quotas for years, and now they're doing away with the quotas. And let me tell you something, the European guys that are pounded on the cows to make that extra money, and, you know, the guys that are still milking at 60 to 120 cows in Europe, that the quotas are gone now. They're done. I'm sorry, those big, you know, 500 to 5,000 cow dairies that are being put in over there are just going to gobble you guys up. You're just going to, you won't even have land, because it's a raging machine to feed those cows with land and corn and actually help. And sometimes, in some cases, it's cheaper to work for or better, more profitable to work for the big mega dairy than it is to attempt to do what you've been doing all your life. So, yeah. I wouldn't want to be a dairy farmer right now. So, other news, the farming life, which I don't like to talk about too much, his barn burned. And, you know, I actually got a text message from How Farms Works, the father, Dwight Kister, and asking me if this was true. And I was like, well, hell, I don't know. And he sent me some pictures, and of course that looked like the Farming Life's barn. So I actually have Eric's Facebook thing, so I sent him a message. I'm like, hey, what's going on here? Did your barn burn? And of course he sent me pictures, and so it's fact. And now the weird thing is, I'm starting to get notifications on on videos that I have commented on with, hey, come look at my barn burning. I burned my barn down to collect insurance money. Well, I wouldn't say that. You know, if I was him, I would just be like, somebody burned my barn down, or there was an electrical fire and my barn burned, or something happened and my barn burned. I'm not going to go advertise all over YouTube that, hey, I burned my barn down to collect insurance money, because you know what? Insurance companies really, really, really don't like to pay you. They don't want to pay you. They want to take your money and put it in their pocket so that they can go on the lavish vacations and fly their blimps around the skies of the United States and other countries, and they don't really want to pay you. So if you're out there saying, hey, my barn burned down and I did it to collect insurance money, guess what? You're going to be under investigation for arson. My brother-in-law's stepdad ended up being prosecuted for burning his own house down when all he was doing was fixing a leaky water pipe. And where he had a kerosene heater, and he would fill the kerosene heater where the water heater was, it was electric water heater, and he had spilt kerosene over the years in that room. Of course, it smelled like kerosene, probably not a good situation to begin with. And he knocked the torch over. Now, he had diabetes really, really bad, so he couldn't move too quick. But anyways, knocks the torch over, and what do you think happened? The kerosene in the carpet lit up, and before you know it, the house was on fire. And they prosecuted him. He went into a pretrial intervention, which basically named him as an arson. His wife was able to, my brother-in-law's mother was able to collect the insurance after a couple of years, and they ended up selling the lot. It was a really bad situation, and the stress put him in a wheelchair, and he died. So, don't go around saying, hey, I burned my barn down to collect the insurance money. That's not right. Don't do that, man. They're just looking for a reason not to pay you. So if Eric, if you're watching this, please you need to stop doing that. You need to take down all of those, hey, come see my channel where I burned my barn down to collect the insurance money. That's not a smart idea. Yeah, I mean, me and the Farming Life channel have had a little bit of a rocky past, but, we tolerate one another, I guess, nowadays, and it's okay, but whatever, there's just it's just stupid stuff. Boy, my eyes look blue today, huh? Anyway, with that being said, let's say we answer a couple of questions here. In news again, another school shooting. We might as well talk about that. This latest school shooting that happened down here in Maryland, it's an eye-opener, okay? So I've said all along that the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. I've said arm the janitors, hire ex-military guys to teach your kids, and or be the janitors, depending on their skill levels or their education. When you're in the military, you have the opportunity. You have the opportunity to go to school, so there's a lot of educated ex-military. These guys know how to handle a firearm, and as long as they qualify and continue to qualify, and their mental status is good, if they haven't seen too much shit overseas, and their mental status is good, arm these guys. So, the latest school shooting. Kid goes into school, shoots his girlfriend that broke up with him, shoots another boy in the school, and then the SWAT team leader that actually works in the school comes around the corner, and they shoot at one another, and of course the SWAT team leader takes out the active student school shooter. Takes him right out. Good guy with a gun. Neutralize the problem. The only dead person is the shooter that went into the school to kill kids. So, point proven. This happens. This works. The one in Florida when the security guards are all standing outside for 14 minutes or 20 minutes? I don't even know how long it was, where 17 kids died. That guy needs to be hung up by his balls. He allowed those children to die because he didn't go in. When you take a job that requires you to defend the children, you have basically agreed that the children's lives within that school are more important than yours, and you will do everything within your power, even death, to stop the shooter. And those guys just didn't do it. Just didn't do it. But this guy did. Maryland, congratulations. My hat's off to you. I know it's bald and white. But yeah, my hat's off to you, and good job. You see, and things like this, if kids that are thinking about going into a school and shooting it up know that there is an armed security or there's armed personnel within the school, they know that their life expectancy in that school is a hell of a lot shorter than the kids that they want to go kill. They're going to walk through the door, they're going to pop off a couple of rounds, and bam, you're going to be converged upon by more than one person with a firearm that's trained and actually knows how to kill you. So it's a good idea to just do that. Lockdown doors. I mean, I watched a kid stand up and in a protest and saying that all guns need to be abolished. No, guns don't need to be abolished. Idiots need to be abolished. It's not a gun problem. It's a human problem. Because a gun, all right, I love my guns. I mean, they're great. I go out and I shoot once in a while. I hunt once in a while. I actually enjoy my firearms. I have ammunition. I reload my own ammunition from time to time. I used to do it a lot more than I do now because I had more time. But you know what? I enjoy my firearms. None of my firearms have ever jumped up and then ran across the field and shot the hunter at the bottom of the field. It just never happened. Been shot at, and I accidentally let a round loose towards a person at one point, and he was not happy when the slugs flew over his head. But then in turn, like the next year, he did the same damn thing to me. And you just got to know where people are in the woods. But, accidents do happen with firearms, and it's just like a car. Only more people die from cars than guns in a year, and everybody says, oh, well, it's the violent manner in which it happens. Well, do you want to be twisted up in plastic and steel, or, a nice clean shot to the head with a bullet? I'd rather have the shot in the head to the bullet than twisted up and bleeding out from my neck vein. But anyway, with that being said, if there's an armed guard, well, I got ahead of myself. This kid was talking in the protest that schools should not look like prisons. Well, I agree. And people shouldn't pick up guns and go kill kids in the schools. So what's the trade-off here? Armed guards, which they don't want because, guns are all bad. So they don't want armed guards, but they also don't want kids to come into schools and shoot up the schools. And the other alternative is to turn it into a compound where the kids come in through the metal detectors, they get wanded, and, they hang up their car keys on a board outside where somebody locks the board. And then when you want to come out, it's another employee or whatever, to go through the metal detectors and get through the metal detectors. I mean, you can sharpen up a car key and kill somebody with it. I mean, there's a lot of ways to kill people. You don't need a gun. You can do it with a baseball bat. That's it. You can do a lot of things to kill people. People are rather fragile. But they don't want a compound. They don't want an armed guard. They want guns taken away from law-abiding citizens. And then what do you think's going to happen? The only ones that are going to have the guns are people that were criminalized, like myself. I would be criminalized because I wouldn't turn over my firearms. I'm sorry. I have the right to keep and bear arms, and that shall not be infringed, even if it causes me death to defend them. As silly as that may sound, it's the way I feel. That's the reason we have the Second Amendment, to protect us from a tyrannical government that would want to take our firearms away. So keep voting Democrat, and you're going to see some badass shit happen. And one more thing on the rant video that I had on the other channel, One Lonely Farmer channel. I do not disagree with the tariffs that Donald Trump has put on steel and aluminum. Not one bit. It needs to happen. Anything coming into the country from these countries is non-tariff. But when we send something out, it gets tariffed. Those countries collect money we have to pay a tariff to send our shit out, but they don't have to pay it to send it in. And that's my understanding of it. So it's just a fair, making things more fair in order to balance out this unbalanced trade thing. We have a trade deficit. I mean, there's more shit going in than going out. And, when you find out the reason why less stuff is going out than coming in, it's because we have to pay a tariff on the stuff that we ship out. That's why these companies that want to survive actually go to other countries to produce a product to ship it back, because there's no tariff. They can make more money, cheaper labor, that stuff. So anyway, so any of you knuckleheads that think that I'm, down on the president for those tariffs, I'm not at all. I'd have done it a long time ago, about 4 presidents ago. I should have never stopped, should have never stopped. Bill Clinton's the one that did most of that shit. So anyways, and my point was first thing that these other countries do when they have to pay tariffs to send their steel, their aluminum, their whatever products to the United States is they say, we're not buying any agricultural products. Fuck you, we're not taking agricultural products anymore. So here we are, a bunch of farmers that are already getting the shit kicked out of us by our own government. And now we got other governments saying, hey, well, we're not going to buy their products, so now we're going to be stuck with an overabundance. Well, that's not true either, because what they're going to do is, say China says, you know what, no more soybeans from the United States. They're going to buy United States soybeans. They're just going to do it in a roundabout way. They're going to call up Argentina or Brazil, and Brazil and Argentina are going to say, hey, United States, I got an order for 100 million tons of soybeans. Do you think you can deliver it to China? And we're going to say, sure we can. What's your fee? And then the guy tells them their fee, and then they're like, oh, okay. So they pay that guy, and then they cut the price to the United States farmer and say, well, we just can't pay that much because there's too much grain on the market. It doesn't magically reappear in Argentina when they stop buying soybeans and corn from the United States. These countries, all the countries in the world, we're at maximum production. For the most part, we're at maximum production. We are not going to say, they're not going to say, hey, we're not buying corn and soybeans, we're going to buy it from somewhere else, and then all of a sudden somewhere else has more soybeans than we have. It doesn't happen. They buy it from us. It's a trade deal. It's like, hey, United States, Argentina here. We need them beans. You got to ship them to China because we got an order that we can't fill. And of course we will oblige them, and that's the way that goes. So if you don't know that, here's the educational side of this channel, is it doesn't mean anything. It's up on TV. Oh my God, the U.S. farmer's going to suffer. Yeah, we are going to suffer, but it's not going to be because the soybeans and corn aren't going over there. It's going to be because there's a third middleman. They just added another guy to it, and he's got to get his fee. So once he gets his fee, and it could be a nickel, it could be a dime, it could be $1. Who the hell knows? But beans don't just pop up out of the jungle in Argentina to make up the difference for what they're not purchasing from us directly. It's a roundabout thing. So just understand that. Also saw on TV and these magazines that there's going to be 2.1 million more acres of soybeans planted. 2.1 million more acres of soybeans planted in the United States because they're riding the wave of the dollar. And there's going to be 1.9 million less acres of corn grown. Where's that 200,000 acres of what? Is it going fallow? I don't think so. But anyway, if I was going to grow anything, it would be corn. Just for that reason, corn is, who knows? Because it's still early in the year. We're not planting anything yet. It could go either way. So anyways, with that being said, enjoy the government interfering with our production. Oh, which brings me to another subject, which I don't really have time for, but, I don't like to go any farther than 25 minutes. I'm at 27. These surveys and censuses, don't fill them things out. They're not required. The government just uses them against you. They use them in trade negotiations and things like that to further their own bank accounts. They don't really give a shit about us. They never have. They never will. They're not going to. No matter what happens, that survey it's unconstitutional, for one thing. They have no right to ask us what we're planting, what we're producing, what we owe. The one thing that really pissed me off in that survey from the other day was asset to debt ratio. Well, come on. That's bullshit. Don't answer any of those questions. Don't let them bully you into answering those questions. If they say, hey, we're going to send somebody out to help you with the survey, just tell them, I don't need help with the survey. I threw it away, and that's what I don't want to fill it out. So goodbye, and then hang up on them. They'll show up at your farm, and that's when you say, hey, you got like 30 seconds to leave, or I'm calling the police, and we will have you removed because you are now trespassing. They'll leave. Trust me, they will leave. They don't want that kind of crap. I told the U.S. Ag Census, I told that woman, I said, well, send the FBI. Because you're not coming here. If this is against the law for me not to fill this out, you call the FBI. And she says, well, we don't really prosecute anybody. So there you go. Thanks for watching.